Hey curious minds, welcome back to Smart Sprouts Club. In our previous videos, we traveled across space and time, from the epic birth of the universe to the formation of Earth, our oceans, the rise and fall of the supercontinent Pangaea, and the majestic mountains that helped shape the world we know today. Now, let's journey through time once more to explore one of the greatest mysteries of all time. How life on Earth began from the stardust to early hunters to the rovers exploring Mars. Around 4.5 billion years ago, Earth wasn't alive. It was a fiery, molten ball, a rocky wasteland. Earth began in chaos, lava flowing in every corner, toxic air, and furious lightning. No oceans, no air, no life. Just a burning world wrapped in mystery. Scientists call this time the Precambrian era, a fancy name for a time when there was no life on Earth. Over millions of years, this wild, steamy molten ball slowly began to change, and chaos faded. Earth began to cool down. Storms raged. Rain fell endlessly for ages, filling the deep basins, turning fire into water and creating the very first oceans. The skies began to clear up. Earth's ocean surface settled with big waves. The deep oceans were silent and dark. The mysterious oceans were spread across the planet, with lots of thermal vents and rich, strange chemicals. Deep beneath the surface, something remarkable began to stir. Simple molecules bumped and collided, until, against all odds, one tiny molecule replicated itself. The first whisper of life was born. Scientists believe the first life forms began in Earth's oceans, inside microscopic bubbles, which had powerful ingredients such as water, heat, minerals, and flashes of electricity from fierce lightning storms. These tiny microbes were called prokaryotes, often stuck together, linking up to form slimy blobs that spread across the ancient ocean floor. These simple little blobs with no brain, no heart, had one superpower: they could make more of themselves. These ancient blobs then ruled the planet for billions of years. They didn't even need oxygen. They lived in boiling hot vents deep in the oceans. Around 3.5 billion years ago, the real game-changer appeared. A tiny blue-green microbes called cyanobacteria. These clever microbes figured out how to use sunlight to make food, a process called photosynthesis. In doing so, they began releasing oxygen into the oceans, something Earth had never had before. These little sea creatures weren't just surviving, they were transforming the planet. Over millions of years, they released so much oxygen that it began to fill the oceans. And soon, the oxygen began to leak into the air, filling up the atmosphere. Over time, Earth's atmosphere transformed. Fresh air filled the skies, rich with oxygen, and the sun blazed brightly above. This transformation set the stage for the rise of larger, more complex forms of life. Did you know? When early microbes photosynthesized, they accidentally released oxygen as waste. As oxygen began to fill the atmosphere, it was actually toxic to many of the early life forms. For millions of years, life struggled and adapted. And then something wild happened. The Cambrian explosion. No, it wasn't a boom like fireworks, but a massive burst of new lives on the oceans. In a relatively short time, a huge variety of new species appeared. Many had hard shells, legs, eyes, and completely new body shapes for the first time ever. It was as if evolution hit fast forward, and the world was never the same again. The creatures weren't just surviving, they were leveling up, growing stronger, smarter, and tougher, adapting to the new worlds. These strange life forms had already begun crawling and swarming toward the shores, preparing for the next great leap in history, stepping onto land. Around 470 million years ago, after the Paleozoic era, simple plants like the moss and the liverworts made their first daring move onto the land. Then came the first pioneers, insects, worms, and amphibians, venturing beyond the water to explore the great unknown. But why leave the cozy ocean in the first place? Well, their life underwater was getting crowded. With food running low and predators on the prowl, some creatures turned to the muddy shores, drawn by fresh air, new food sources, and fewer dangers. Though land promised freedom, it came with its own dangers. But those who dared to venture out didn't just adapt, they conquered. Let's meet Tiktaalik, the first land explorer. With leg-like fins and lungs, it didn't just crawl onto land. This bold move changed the planet forever. So, What came next after that first bold step onto land? Fins became legs, gills turned into lungs, and skin toughened to hold in moisture. Eyes moved upward, perfect for spotting danger on land. This single move triggered a chain of evolution, giving rise to amphibians, reptiles, dinosaurs, birds, mammals, and ultimately, humans. Next, the plants took over. Ferns and massive trees spread across the land, building forests that fed animals, offered protection, and changed the landscape forever. Together, the animals, birds, and plants weren't just surviving on land. They were engineering it, turning a rocky, barren world into a thriving, green paradise. Did you know whales came from land animals? They evolved from wolf-like creatures that returned to the sea and became ocean giants. Like all great chapters, the Paleozoic era ended in catastrophe, called the Permian-Triassic extinction, Earth's worst disaster. The massive volcanic eruptions unleashed gases that triggered global warming, stripped oxygen from the seas, and poisoned the land, causing the planet to overheat, turning the oceans toxic, and nearly killing all the life on sea and land. Around 252 million years ago, the Mesozoic era began, rising from the ashes of the planet's worst extinction. Only the toughest remained. Early amphibians, tiny reptiles, and resilient plants began to repopulate a quiet, empty Earth. This reset paved the way for a new era, the age of dinosaurs. As Earth healed, small reptiles evolved into the first dinosaurs. Over 180 million years of the Mesozoic era, they flourished, from giant plant eaters to predators like T. rex. The Earth was changing again. Volcanoes rumbled, seas rose, and then, something big happened again. Yes, around 66 million years ago, a massive asteroid struck what is now Mexico with the force of 1 billion bombs. Fire and gas filled the skies, blocking sunlight and wiping out 75% of all life, including the dinosaurs. Earth fell silent once more. It was the end of an extraordinary era. After the fall of the dinosaurs, Earth entered a new chapter, the Cenozoic era. Tiny mammals emerged from the shadows and their burrows, joined by a handful of tough survivors. Mammals spread far and wide, as birds took flight and flowering plants and insects blossomed, weaving the fabric of modern ecosystems. From these humble beginnings rose mammoths, saber-toothed predators, marine giants, and our earliest human ancestors. Fun fact, after the dinosaurs, giant flightless birds, up to 10 feet tall, became top predators. Fast, fierce, and armed with hooked beaks, they were like prehistoric ostriches with an attitude. The continents took on their modern forms and Pangaea became a memory. Roughly 2.6 million years ago, the ice ages rolled in. Massive ice sheets spread across the globe, covering vast parts of the Earth during the Ice Age. Sea levels dropped drastically. Mammals adapted. Woolly mammoths and rhinos roamed the frozen world. For others, it was simple, adapt or vanish. Amid the cold and chaos, a new kind of survivors emerged. Guessing who? It's the early humans. Yes, humans evolved during the Ice Age. Over millions of years, some primates began to walk on 2 legs, made tools, controlled fire, and built shelters and discovered that teamwork and cooperation were the keys to survival. Humans were born in Africa and soon made their way across the world, from Europe and Asia to the Americas and Australia. Soon, humans adapted to new lands, new cultures, hunted animals, discovered farming, and began building civilizations. With each step, we shaped and changed the course of history forever. With intelligence, humans evolved from Stone Age, went on to build empires. Advanced in philosophy, science, medicine, art, and architecture. We continue to evolve, and now hold the power to shape, or destroy, our planet. From simple beings, we've become a species capable of deciding Earth's future. Earth's story is far from over. The next chapter? Well, that's for us to write. Stay curious, stay smart. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.